This will be the concept stage for the beginning of my illustration I'm going to be working on. I will say it again probably 3 times because I didn't realize I had said it, and each time I hit record I was trying to make sure you knew what I was drawing. I am drawing Brother Bones, the Undead Avenger by Fortier. I'll be working with him on that later this year. So right now this is the concept stage. I am building forms from just kind of a basic human anatomy, putting in the hat details there. You can kind of see his arms are extended a little bit. I'll be putting little placeholders in for his dual pistols. Have the pretty deep pose and then the cape billowing in the wind. That was my initial rough. That was kind of my first idea. And then this idea here, I was going for a little bit more of a malevolent, monstrous type thing where he's stalking and walking towards you. Probably still have the 2 smoking barrels, but they would be down at the side, kind of a gorilla type pose. I didn't like that one quite so much, but still fleshing out the details and where it would go. Last one, I was thinking maybe a little more action and trying to have it as if he's being thrown back, or if he is jumping back, maybe like a leg up in the air, his torso, and a little more dynamic, but maybe a little more of a agility type character pose. That's really doesn't fit the thing for the bones, so I went with the first one. Coffee.
Oh man, I guess I can talk. Okay. So from these designs, this is Brother Bones, the illustration I'm going to be doing. He is the Undead Avenger, created by Fortier, or Fortier, however. And we're doing a 4-point part, words, pretty much origin story, taken from like a screenplay kind of thing. How the Undead Avenger comes to be in the world of pulp noir, world of Cape Noir, which is the town. I chose this design out of the others. It's a little more dynamic than the second one, but it's not like it's showing too much agility like that third one there. I don't really want him to be flipping around like Spider-Man, because he's just not that type of character. He is the dual guns blazing, justice serving Undead Avenger. And again, with all my illustrations, usually start with the body, just kind of mapping out where the torso and everything will be. On this one, it had a pretty strong silhouette, although this leg will probably get swept away with the drapery flowingness of the trench coat here. And this is the really, really rough pre-pencils. This is something I hate doing, so I probably don't have quite enough room on this side, so I'm going to bend his arm a little bit. Typically, you would want to draw whatever the pose needs to be through it and extend the paper if you need to, but I don't know. Torso's a little long, so I'm going to pull the hip up. Start this. And what I'm talking about with the strong silhouette is the outside edge of the character should be readable. Even if it was all just blacked in, you should still get an idea of what the character is, what they're doing. Get them that noir slouch hat, like the Shadow and the great heroes of old. So Brother Bones, Undead Avenger, His face isn't a skull, but he has a skull mask. And I will not go into spoilers about that. Right. So there's a couple pieces here. So the character wears a trench coat, and right here the fabric would bunch up because he's raising his knee up, so it would compress the space here. So I'm going to be doing some folds here. It's still rough, so I'm kind of feeling it out. And then this side would be a bit more smooth, maybe a bend or two. I'm trying to send the force this way through the leg, so most of his weight's going to be here, but it is dispersed into this other side here. And I'm pushing the force down to the knee, and then it's radiating out to catch on there. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that well. That's for another day, another video. Alright, so you can see I'm showing the collar, kind of going a little harder, and then switching the bevel on my pencil. There's so many little things to talk about, you know, every time. So we got the chest puffed out, heroic pose, legs are splayed wide, dynamic, and kind of have that twist of the head. So he's looking back over this way, not behind him, but yeah, looking back up and over. Of course, barrels need to be smoking, as he has dispensed justice at the end of a 45.
Coffee.
Alright, back to it. So I'm going to be going really rough with my pencil, really light with my pencils. Not something I am very good at, but I want to do kind of with the blue, how you saw I did, really light at first to just build the forms, and then a little more to define some of the clothes and some of the shapes and some of the pieces. This is going to be the same thing, so each step is iterative, and you can get more iterations out of properly planning and using your technique. So it's almost like, instead of me just trying to go straight into the final draft of a piece, I can do one blue, two blue, one pencil, two pencil. So I'm almost drawing this like 4 times before I get to the actual inks, so that way each time I can shave away any imperfections or any, I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, any unwanted pieces, or I can kind of refine it as I go. There we go. That's a little better way to say it. So this shoulder is up, so the fabric will be bunching high because it's being pushed up, and then this one's sloping a little bit. It's going to be folding underneath there. I'm not the best with drapery or shape or folds, but I kind of get by. Go. Definitely hit the fold for the elbow there. I just realized I was getting a little dark again. You see the favor-sided triangle? I'm trying to push the forms so they're overlapping, but they're still a little dynamic. This is where I can solidify what the fingers and hands are going to be. In this run, I'm not trying to do much shading or putting in the heavy spot blacks, because that's going to press into the paper harder. or kind of lock me into some stuff. So I do have a hard time chilling out when it comes to some of the drapery bits. I want it to be maybe a little more artistic than clear. Clarity pretty much always needs to be the priority for what you're trying to do here, from the silhouette of the form to everything you do. I have tension on the pants because this leg is coming up. It's resting here. It's going to be tight against the back of his calf. And it's hanging down below the knee. Probably end up blocking that out quite a bit. With Brother Bones being more of a pulp style character, I really want to push to go a little heavier with the blacks and with the graphicness. Alright, those fingers look like junk. And then this is pretty much just a rectangle tube away from us. So I need to make sure that this edge is cut off and we can see a little bit of this edge. It's not too dynamic of a twisted angle, but if it was, I would need to make sure that I either show more of the bottom or the top. I'm going to go ahead and show a little more of the bottom. That way the form looks like it's kind of rotating a little bit away as well. Gunsmoke is just whatevs. Again, a little more cartooning with the leg versus reality of where things would fall. That way the shape is clear. And then I can't remember exactly what the shoes look like, but I know they have, I think they have that V-type piece going there. Kind of like, I want to say bowling shoes, but like, yeah, classy kicks. Tell you what. There you go. Look at the heel. And then the front here. This, from the heel, is like kind of a brick chunk coming out of the bottom. And then a little thin here, and then place where he'll be on the foot there. I went a little far with the line there. I'll erase that out. Alright. Now I can start defining a little more with the forms. And figuring where my blacks will be. Not going to shroud this leg completely in black, but this part here would be overlapping on top of the calf, so it's not gonna, it's gonna cast a shadow down on it. Same with this arm. Be casting down a bit, but I'm gonna leave it a little open. I'm already getting a little more intricate here with the shading than I had planned. This elbow is the leading edge here of kind of the force coming this way, so I did want to make sure it really punches and has some impact. Yeah. This one will probably be showing the bottom as well, because we're seeing the palm of his hand and everything's rotating a little bit towards the viewer that way. Maybe even the barrel on this one, just because that's where that is. And we'll get hypnotized, gentlemen. There we go. This is the lower flap of the lapel. We'll be covering over a little bit there. Maybe I can simplify back out a little more with my inks. Or I can screw the pooch and go even harder. Who knows? So, I didn't say it before. Generally, I'm thinking with this one, the light would be coming down from this way right here. So all the shadows are going to be caught on this side. So this would be almost completely black. And so the amount of detail you have in like the folds in the fabric is kind of, that would be fighting solid black forms to make it more graphic versus illustrative. That's why I had shaded this part in before, so the light would be coming down on the hat this way anyways. So yeah. And I think the Undead Avenger is one of the only characters I allow to rest their fingers, booger pickers on their trigger there. Actual skull itself, I'm not trying to go too crazy with it as well. I don't know, it's like all my commentary like, hey, chill the hell out. Slow down, buddy. I'm used to trying to push out as much product as possible, as fast as possible. Alright. And there is a technique you can use. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that or not for this one, but showing the rim line, I probably will. So we have the bottom edge of these pants is right here. And the shading to make that 3D form, the light's coming in from here. So the light's catching over here, and then the hard edge here, and then we would have like a little line of white in order to infer that light is bouncing back up from the other surfaces around it. Again, less graphic, more illustrative. Alright, pretty much ready for inks. Alright, time for inks, and simplification is my watchword that I will fail. Just kind of outlining the shapes. Try not to go too heavy, but I'm already kind of janking up the lines. Trying to go really light. I like for the 8-point to do kind of the edge. Kind of a thinking and problem solving situation. Remember I had the folds of the fabric here from the tension. It comes up a bit. Might have gone a little too far with that. Sorry, I'm focusing on my hand there. I don't control that. This is probably mostly going to be in shadow, but I'm still building out the form. I don't know why, other artists do it too, but just kind of filling out certain shapes but then jumping to other places. Jumping from here to down there. I mean, I don't know if it's just mentally bored or you need to put something in somewhere else to keep everything fresh. It's not a conscious decision on where things need to go next. It's just kind of feeling out the form and working it. Another thing, it is hard to keep like a heroic V type form with too baggy of clothing. And this doesn't really need to be too baggy. It is still fabric. Not really the biggest fan of the skin tight superhero stuff, although I've done a bit of that before. From the nose to the eye line there. My ear's a little big. Just kind of fake that back out. Yeah, the line quality of the actual inks here isn't so great. So this lapel, it's going to catch that light and cast it down. So I'm doing a hard edge there versus down here. If I was to do a ton of hatching, I would pull it up so that it would be reaching up towards the light, so the banding would come to create a halftone on the edge, depending on how sharp the edge needs to be.
You gonna buy one?
Whoa, whoa. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's like, what, 6, 7, 8 hours later. I am back on this. Stability and a little better positioning here, so you won't see me focus jumping in and out because I can't control where my hand's going while I'm holding the camera in my confined space that I'm usually drawing from for these videos so far. Looking back over this form from before, I'm still okay with most of it. I'm still using the 8, which is a little thicker. Again, just puts a little more line on the paper. And then, oops, I already started. I was wanting to try to stay away from a lot of hatching, but we'll see. I could just blot it out too, so that doesn't matter that much. Again, this is Brother Bones, created by Ron Fortier, and we will be working to do an origin that I'm hoping to get the first and second issue to enough of a place to launch within the year. Now that I'm a little more stable here, I can add some of the details I was wanting to avoid in case I'd mess them up too much before. Alright. I didn't mention before, so I pulled this off the line that I had drawn a little bit before. Trying to have the arm mostly straight. It is still out at a canted angle, and then this will be facing a little bit away. I was trying to, so the wrist would come right about here. I was trying to carry it down a little bit, so it looks like it's kind of flaring out. And then let's, I had it pretty flat before. Let's catch the top of this. So I'm going to do the front sight post there. Boom. Bring it back. His weapons are 1911s. I have had some reference. I'm not using it now, which shame. If you can use reference, if you want something to look right, that is probably the right option. And I, more often than not, do not choose the right option. So, yeah. Alright, so now we're canted a little bit, so we're seeing just the edge of the top there. I think I made it a little snubbier than I should. This is the back plate right here, which would have the hammer, which I also forgot about, because I normally have something else, more of the Glock type that has the flat back. And again, just jumping all over. I don't know, brain gets bored. Brain doesn't want to solve this problem right now because I'm having the hand away from you, canted at an angle, so it's going to be 2 or 3 different little thought processes that have to happen in order to build the form out. I'm probably going to have the pinky a little bit loose and mainly holding here. The finger would be in the trigger well. As I mentioned, most characters should not do that for weapon safety, but Brother Bones is the Undead Avenger, and this is his safety right here. I apologize for what I've said. Let me get that trigger well. Again, it's not really perfect and on model there, so yeah. I was gonna do, you can do a loose, dainty pinky sometimes, but is it bad if I say I usually do that a little more with the female characters? I don't know. Probably. Cancel me. Alright. And boom, the magazine. Remember, it's canted towards us a little bit, so we're not going to see much past the bottom here. If we did see the magazine sticking out like a little brick under the bottom, we could eventually see the flat plate of that, which we see right here. Again, reference would make that a little better, or a lot better, who knows. I'm doing hatching on the grips. Kind of a cross hatch. I'm leaving some spots empty as well. That's discretion, if you will. I don't know why I did that. But it's ink, so I can't erase it, so That's my choice. Sometimes the choices are good, sometimes they're not. I'm trying to go really light right here, above the teeth line. Brother Bones does have skin under here, and then it is like a mask that's over the face that he would have. And fake stuff, push it out a little more, although that will add some density to your line. Remember, the light is coming this way, so that's not always the best place right there, because we want the lights, or the lines that are getting caught by the light, to be thinner in order to show heaviness on the bottom, and that'll hint at your lighting as well. Alright. Gonna be bold. So this leg is definitely pretty long. Now that I'm looking, I think they're both a little long with the issues here. Let me see. Can I even am I off camera? Who knows? So right now I am a competent digital artist, so I can draw it and then just scale the leg in or use like a warp tool to bend it. To see how much it's a little long, but it's not insanely long. So most comic characters have like 8 heads tall. So you take the head and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down if they're standing straight up. I tend to lean a little less into the 8 to 10 to 40 heads high. I don't know, just not my style, because I don't really see people like that outside of like Instagram or movies here and there, and not even that many people in movies. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rock this one though. I'm trying to find my line. If I was penciling for someone else, I would want to define my lines a little more. Unless they were letting me be lazy. Alright. Try not to go too in-depth with the folds and fabric. Remember, this one's hanging forward because his leg is pushing up against the pants here. That's where the force is being pushed up. And then the actual balance point would be in the foot, but the leg here where the calf is, that's a pretty big calf, but it would be pushing against the fabric. Remember, said I wasn't sure on the shoes before. I'm gonna pull up the reference from the actual project right now. I do want that to look absolutely right. Let my internet load over there. Oh, I just went ham on the hatching there. I wasn't even paying attention. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't stop me. Alright, so this is going to be the inside edge. You see this light line right here? I want to try not to hit it quite so hard. We got a couple folds here. Boom, the fabric breaks, and then coming up, and then it'll be a little thicker than I wanted. And so this other side is coming down here. I went way further than it realistically would. If you look at this, coming from the top here, there's the fold. Maybe not too bad, but it's comics. If Spawn's cape can be 40 feet long and he's not tripping over it, then we can exaggerate a bit. With art, your lies tell the truth. Something like that. Thickening this line, I will probably hit it with a brush nib pen as well. Some reference. Okay, I would have done that wrong because I already have started wrong. So it is. Oh, it's like one of those. It's like that. So this is the white part, and this will be the black part. Alright, and then shoelaces. These can look like gobbledygook, and I rarely do them properly to not make them look like that. So I don't have all day. That's my excuse. If you see here this thickness, I never used a brush pen for a long time in my life, and I try to imitate it with this guy, which is why he's probably still one of my favorites, just because I trained myself on him to replicate good things by doing my poor man's version of it. That was in keeping from actually using inks and brushes and stuff, which is a mess and highly technical, and I haven't trained myself with that, so. That is gonna be black. I'll just black it in. Remember, that's cast shadow, and oh, fudge it. We're gonna do some hatching. All right. Hit that. Hatch it up. All right. So remember, the hard edge here is because the shadow is hitting the lapel, and then it's casting on there. The softer shadow is crawling up towards the light. That's how you can remember it from the surface break. So there's a bend in the surface, and when it goes down, the shadow's on that side, but depending on how round that break is how long the lines go. And again, not an exact science, but you can pretend, just like me. Are you hatching there? Who am I kidding? Old dog, no new tricks. Nothing I learned will stick. Best laid plans of mice and men. Right. Had wanted to do this from the beginning. I did not. I was probably not following the form as well as it could. You do have the indent here, but then, nah, I don't know. I'm going crazy. I'm going wild. Someone inflate my ego and tell me it's graphic enough. I don't know. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna cast this in a little more shadow. When you have overlapping forms, you can put the back in black. It's not good for painting because you want to separate the pieces by feigning something like atmospheric dispersion. But for comics, it is binary. We are black and white here, and black will recede away while white will pop forward. So, danger zone, what are you doing? Sometimes I'll do these little things with a Sharpie or something thick like that, and then regret follows. Alright. I'll just clean that up as well. Alright. So remember, the light's coming in this way, so I'm going to allow myself to be a little looser on the sides that are away from aforementioned light. And I can kind of, I just wiped out that shape right there, and I like this a little better. It's a little more graphic and rigid. That is fine with me. And it's kind of cleaning up my scratchy lines from before. With the brush pen, you can get kind of a thick to thin. I don't know if I demonstrated that anywhere, but I'll try to see if I can do that here. Alright, so there's going to be a little sharper of a break here, so I don't want to be carrying these lines, hatching them up into the knee too far, unless there was a more rounded shape. So I want to have it more sharp, so the edges catch less light. It's not great with this really nice ambient light here. So I'm going to do little tick marks. So for these, you can see how they're a little thicker at the bottom and then they taper into like a point. I'm trying to do that on purpose. Let me show you the other pen. Really thick and then taper to something thin. And that'll get a more gooder line. Sorry. Alright. Enough jibber jabber. Get to work. Now realistically, if I was to look at reference, I don't feel like it would quite fall like this. I'm going to be putting a little more black in, and we'll call it art. Same here, underside. Top hits the light, underside gets shadow. If I had really big areas, I wouldn't be using this pen because I don't want to waste it. So this right here, switch to my other brush pen, although it is pretty empty. I'll use this for dry brushing once it gets a little empty, so that's why I'm actually haven't filled it back up yet. I have a replaceable. Oh my gosh, let me show you this thing. This thing's great. Alright, so it's Pentel, and refill the back with ink. It's awesome. It's a little soft. I wish it was just a tiniest bit firmer up there. This isn't refillable, which is unfortunate. Alright, so trench coat, I'm going to do cast shadow. The cast shadow is going to move into the folds of the fabric that is being pulled and given tension by his stance being so wide. I might need to replace that. This is thick to thin, just slapdash, cheating, putting it in there quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's weird talking about this because, like, when I'm actually just doing the drawings, usually I'm just working so fast, just putting stuff down so hard that I'm not stopping to think about it. So if I was to do hatching across something like this, a wider area, I might want to do finer lines and make them a little longer versus the little chunky little tick marks. It's a preference, I guess. Don't want to smudge. Messed up a little by that little mark I made to try to demonstrate the balance point, but guess what? Oh, nobody knows now. Now it's intentional. They say not to use the limitations of your skill set as part of the design, but whew. If that was a charge for some sort of jail time, I would be in for life. So this would be a very highly reflective surface. I'm trying not to go too far in with the texture. If I was to really, really render like the pants, you could just do fine lines all the way for each of the folds. We're trying to keep it a little faster, a little more energetic here. So I'm not actually going to do that with these. I forgot I had these. I will use these to fill instead of my big brush pen. I thought these were going to be great. They're not bad. I think they're also kuretake, but if you look for bamboo, the edges just, this one looks fine, but the edges kind of fade out a little bit and they flare out, and it's just not, I don't know. It's a good tool, but it's not something I'll be buying again. Remember, this was that cast from the top. I am leaving a little bit blank here. I gobbled up the line right there. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of a rim light like this side. So say there's a light coming, like we said, from this side. It's catching his shoulder, this piece right here, all of the side of the hat, a bit on the back, and then it'd be catching maybe flat part of this, and then his leg here, which actually I could even have some of the shadow from his upper body right here. But I digress. Yeah, so I wanted the rim light, so the first major light would be here, and then say another light would be in the back behind him standing there. This is quality teaching. And then the light comes in and hits that side, so you kind of catch it right on the edge there, right on the rim. We're going to go a little this. Alright, and cover this a little more. And I'm okay. I'm forgiving myself about all the details I had there getting covered up and blotted out. Realistically, there probably wouldn't be much light on the underside here unless they did a really good job of having a light that would come from under the cloak if it was like a studio lighting situation. Again, not in love with these. They didn't really perform like I was hoping. And yeah. If I was only going to be putting this towards digital, I could just do an X, and then when I get into Clip Studio or Photoshop, then just paintbrush or paint bucket. But I am not. I'm giving an edge here so that has a little more of a 3D effect. Again, everything is an illusion. Grab another one. An actual brush? Ooh. I don't have that. I'm sure it will disappoint me as well. Oh, I'm liking that. Alright, well, I got this in a pack of 3 and I didn't know they had an actual brush like a brush. Alright. And if I was really bold, I'd just black that whole part out. But I am a cowardly, superstitious lot. See, I gobbled that up, shouldn't I? Oh, man. Here we go. I don't know. I want to make it look like it's easy. Don't let them know you're sweating underneath. There we go. Yeah. Alright, okay. Alright. Filling in spot blacks, traditionally. So for the brush pen, it's probably absolutely not the best thing to be doing that with. I'm doing the hatching lines along the form, so if this was a cylinder, I'm doing the hatching lines like this. If I did hatching lines like this, it would have to be indenting, or it'd be showing that the curve is going that way. I'm gonna make that more clear in another way, but not here, not like this. And I show how to do hatching, and then I blot everything out. Alright. Chill. Alright, so he's wearing gloves. So I can highlight the forms. I'm not doing fingernails, but I am trying to define the shape. So there's like the tip of the finger right here versus the top and side. So tip, top, side. Alright, and then what do they call that? Kerning or I don't know. Alright. Not bad. Now it would have been better if I'd gone down like that. So there you go. There you go. Okay, again, this is pretty far out, but it also looks pretty dynamic. So we're going to forgive ourselves. Oh, am I going to do the outline with this brush pen thing? I think I am. At least on the bottom. I did also put his foot all the way to the outside of this, again, as I was talking about the force, so that force is pushing up here, back, down. So I have the force coming through here, down, out, and then down. But I want the ankle to really be all the way out, so it really looks like it's pushing really far out. I do like the design for this, but maybe, nah. I was thinking maybe I discovered something that I like better, but I truly only fool myself. Yeah, so not the best tool for everything. Alright, so the front top is black. So I have this foot pointing towards us. This foot's kind of pointing down to the side. This one, the toe is going to overlap a lot more of the back parts of the foot. The toe kind of has like a bowl because the shoe is rounded and structured. If I was doing the actual toes, I'd probably bring it down a little bit and then flesh those out. This part's white, but I'm going to give a little hatching edge there. Like that. And then the toe is going to be that light. So remember the light's coming in here. We also have that far rim light that's shining the bits on that. So the main specular highlight will probably be something like this for the primary light, and then we'll get that secondary light, and then since they're just so shiny and pretty, we are going to have other bits. Don't get me started on the bits. Also, I did overlap a little too much. I'm going to bring it down like that. It's now a gloppy mess. But the thing is, everybody's looking up here. So, as long as it works. Illusion. That calf is carrying the fabric here. Oh man, that's how I'm going to say it. That is much easier to say than whatever mumbo jumbo I was trying to. It pushes the form. Whatever I was trying to go for there. Oh. Have the complete black inside. Remember, black pushes back, white will come forward with the value. Okay. Boom. And find the other ones and throw those away and just keep these guys. But they too shall die. Like our hopes and dreams. Like the Undead Avenger. Maybe someone will come back. Punish the wicked. I'm not apologizing for that one. Alright, I am going to... So I have the main tension right here. I don't think I carried this very well. So I'm gonna darken it out. And then no one will know. Alright, draw a bunch of lines to draw attention to what I did. So if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, but if you point out what you're doing, that's dumb too. Alright. Okay, kind of getting wrapped up here, so remember, this is an edge here, so we can have the hatching go up, not quite as necessary. I have the folds here. This part would be hanging, so I really overdid this. I didn't mention from the base of the sketch, so his center of mass is about right here. His weight is a little heavier on here, so maybe like 60-70% on this foot. And that would be canted back. Since this one's out, it would be a little further closer to us on the horizon. If we're going to imagine lines going back into infinity. Was I like off the page? I don't know. I'll look up every 20 to 30 minutes and realize I'm drawing stuff that people can't even see. It's cool. It's cool. Alright. I want to fix that and I'm going to make it worse. Alright, so I did that, which was bad. Let's do that. Remember, this is cast shadow on top from the other pieces, and then this is kind of the fabric as it bends. And that is how stuff is done. Gosh, this looks a little loose here. We're gonna do some just refinement and finishing up. It would catch shadow. Careful. So again, hatching. This is suggesting a form like this, whereas I'll also do hatching this way here to suggest this form, and I did it rather poorly. Let's just cover that up. Let's just hide our mistakes. Like I've said, every layer is an iteration that you finesse, and hiding your mistakes is also a way of finessing things. Alright. Let's just go ahead and black that out. Draw these fingers out. Thumb looked a little loose there. Fume. Lovely. This is the these little yummy bits on the top. We call them ninja sprinkles in the fight world. Or at least my coach did. And again, this is still the 0.8. It's just that I'm hitting on the corner. I know it looks a little rounded. It is rounded, but hitting on the corner enough to make I can do big bold lines like this, or I can do these little hatchy, almost nothing ghost lines. Could go into detail about how I just did that as well. So for the most part, you want your lines to be similarly spaced apart, and when you mess it up, you just kind of go back over it and start creating the worst tutorials ever on how to do stuff. Alright, I jumped the shark long ago. This is not the original intent of this drawing. Oh, man. And like all my failures and mistakes in life, I have no one to blame but myself. Probably should have been done with this a while ago. But that's okay. I don't know if I'm the king of overworking things, but I'm definitely somewhere in the noble court. We'll pretend like it's giving it more form. That was bad. Deal with it. Alright. The smoke trail denotes movement. There we go. So he, either the wind is blowing a bit, or maybe he's pulling the gun up. I don't know. It's the power of imagination. Okay. We're gonna call it quits, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draw some more. There we go. That's a better shape right there. That's a little high. Don't tell anyone. Come on. Make marks. Thank you. Thanks. Wondrous. I am not fueled by strange exotic substances besides caffeine, so there we go. I gotta stop trying. Someone stop me. You are powerless to stop me. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Done.